Episode 1. The Show Must. The true crime podcast trio of Mabel, Charles, and Oliver dive into a new mystery at the Arconia for Season 3. The episode opens with a flashback to a young Loretta Durkin, an aspiring actress who never made it big, setting the stage for her introduction as a key character. Fast forward to the present. It's the opening night of Oliver's Broadway show, Death Rattle, starring Ben Glenroy. The performance takes a dark turn when Ben collapses on stage, poisoned, and is pronounced dead, shocking the cast and crew. Mabel, like she always does, suspects foul play immediately and pitches a podcast to the others about Ben's death, believing it could revive their true crime series and expose the killer. Oliver, reeling from the show's disastrous premiere, is distracted by his budding attraction to Loretta, while Charles uncovers a clue that hints at deeper intrigue. Meanwhile, Mabel faces personal challenges. She must move out of her aunt's newly renovated Arconia apartment due to its recent sale, straining her ties with Charles and Oliver. The episode twists when Ben, shockingly, reappears alive at a party, only to die again later, cementing Mabel's suspicions of murder. The trio begins investigating suspects and motives, with the narrative weaving in their personal stakes. Mabel's uncertain future, Oliver's career revival, and Charles's quest for answers. Episode 2. The beat goes on. At Ben's funeral, Mabel and Charles meet Greg, who claims to have worked for Ben as a security guard. Instead, Greg is revealed to be an obsessed fan of Ben's and kidnaps them and chains them up. In Greg's custody, Mabel tells Charles that Ben's murder is personal to her because one of his shows helped her overcome her father's death, while Charles reveals that the tension between him and Ben stemmed from when he unintentionally got Ben fired from Brazos many years earlier. Greg intends to torture the pair into confessing to Ben's murder, but Detective Biswas arrives with the police and arrests him as Ben's killer based on Greg's obsession and his whereabouts at the time of the murder. Mabel, however, theorizes that since Greg had Ben's handkerchief from the play and the body was found holding an identical one, Greg could not have committed the murder. She and Charles agree to begin a third podcast to find Ben's real killer, about which Oliver is reluctant as he has other things on his mind. Following a minor heart attack he suffered after encountering a critic who was planning to pan his play, he becomes inspired to turn the show into a musical. Episode 3. Grab Your Hankies. Mabel and Charles begin their investigation into Ben's murder, and they are confused if it was only one person or multiple because he was killed in two different ways. Their main clue they have is the handkerchief that was handed out the night of the play, so they need to find the person that lost theirs. Mabel goes to Ben's apartment looking for clues, and she meets Tobert, Ben's documentarian, and they discuss potential killers. They are forced to hide when Dickie, Ben's brother and manager, enters the apartment, during which Tobert reveals that he intends to make a documentary about Ben's murder, and he has footage of Ben that night right before he collapsed on the stage. He shows her the video of Ben talking to someone in the dressing room. He wants her help in finding the true killer, as they both want them exposed for different reasons. Elsewhere, Loretta tells Oliver she won a television series role in Los Angeles, and that shooting begins in a week, and she will be moving across the country. Oliver, desperately sad when hearing this, tries to get her to stay by saying she is contractually tied to his stage play. He eventually laments to her and says he will let her go if she performs her character's lullaby for the producers, Donna and Cliff, as he needs their approval for funding. They are amazed by her performance and agree to fund Oliver's new musical. Loretta sees how much this means to him and decides she wants to stay after all and gives him a kiss. The episode closes with Charles discovering that Kimber, the woman that was playing Ben's love interest, lost her handkerchief that night. Charles wonders if she was jealous Ben was getting all the limelight and not her. Episode 4. The White Room. The trio's number one suspect is now Kimber, and they believe she may have killed Ben due to jealousy or that they were having an affair and something went wrong between them. Kimber tells Mabel she only wanted Ben to promote her beauty products and he had agreed to it initially, but then backed out at the last minute, and she sold her handkerchief online, and that's why she doesn't have it. People were paying good money for any souvenirs for the night of Ben Glenroy's murder. She also reveals that Ben was extremely upset on opening night because he had a red mark on his face, and he started panicking. He hurried to have someone come in and clear it off his face before anyone could see it. Charles and Oliver get into Ben's dressing room, and they see the phrase "freaking pig" written on the mirror in lipstick, and Mabel quietly keeps a tube of lipstick in her pocket. A little later, Cinda Canning is back and she goes to offer Mabel a job working with her. But Mabel isn't interested in being her next poppy, even though she badly needs the money. Meanwhile, Charles has to perform a song, but every time he rehearses it, he enters the White Room, a place inside his mind while his body acts disturbingly without his knowledge. Oliver comforts him, but tells him he doesn't think Charles is ready to have his new boo Tang, Joy, move in with him quite yet. Charles tries telling this to Joy, but has another blackout, and then when he comes back to reality, he is on one knee proposing to Joy. The episode ends with Joy taking her lipstick from Mabel's hands, indicating she might have written the insult on Ben's mirror. Episode 5. Ah, Love. While Oliver goes on a date with Loretta, Mabel meets with Tobert once again at a restaurant so they can spy on Jonathan, Ben's understudy and Howard's current boyfriend. They see him exchanging something with a man whom Tobert identifies as Ben's doctor. Meanwhile, Charles and Joy argue about the lipstick that he found, and she says that she left her lipstick in the dressing room that night, and she was the one who fixed the red spot on Ben's face. Charles tells her that the mark on Ben's face came after he punched him for being a tool to Loretta. Charles also tells Joy he didn't mean to propose her, and this upsets her, and she leaves after calling off the engagement. A little later, Charles is visited by Saz, his old stunt woman, who gives him a quick therapy session about the blackouts and his relationship problems. Oliver goes to Loretta's place to have dinner with her that night, and he is surprised when Loretta mentions that Ben is a freaking pig for some of the things he said to her that night, calling her obsessed with him. Loretta admits to the confrontation, but tells Oliver she didn't kill him. This is why Charles punched him. Mabel and Tobert head back to her place, and they share a passionate kiss while Oliver stays over at Loretta's. While there, though, Oliver finds a scrapbook full of news clippings about Ben, which makes Oliver become suspicious. Maybe Ben was right when he accused Loretta of being obsessed with him. Episode 6. Ghostlight. After Howard claims to have seen a ghost of a deceased actor at the local theater, the trio head there to investigate. Mabel and Tobert confront Jonathan about his meeting with Ben's doctor, and he confesses that he obtained the same cocktail of medications Ben used to cope with the pressure of being the lead for the show. While searching around the theater, Oliver discovers that his former director friend, Jerry, was the one who pretended to be the ghost, as he has been living in the attic for months as he has no place to stay. He does tell some interesting information to Oliver, though. Jerry tells Oliver about witnessing the whole ordeal with Ben, Loretta, and Charles firsthand. He tells Oliver that Ben was being a tool to Loretta and calling her obsessed, and many other names, and Charles heard him say this stuff and punched Ben for saying nasty things to a female. Loretta was also the one who called Ben a freaking pig and wrote it on the mirror. Oliver decides to keep this new information to himself, and he doesn't want to tell Mabel and Charles yet because they would automatically assume Loretta is the killer and he is falling for her. He tries cleaning the lipstick off the mirror, and then Mabel and Charles walk in on him doing this. A fight breaks out between them all, and Oliver accuses Charles of not telling them he punched Ben, and Oliver fires Charles from the play. Mabel tells Oliver she got a job offer from Cinda Canning, and she's thinking about accepting it, and the three all seem to go their own ways to end the episode. Episode 7. CoBro. Charles discovers that his building mate, Uma, was the one who stole the handkerchief off of Ben's corpse, but she sells it online to an unknown buyer before Charles can get it from her. Oliver is forced to find a new actor to take Charles's spot in the musical, and he hires Matthew Broderick to be the new lead. When Charles finds out about this, he is a little sad because he was hoping Oliver would change his mind and give him the spot back. Mabel has started thinking Dickie is the killer, but when she straight up asks him, Dickie said he loved Ben and would never hurt him. He does admit to being in Ben's shadow all his life, and that sucked at times, but he never gave up. Dickie tells her he believes Greg is the real killer, and the police got it right in arresting him. But Mabel still isn't buying Greg as the culprit. Back at the theater, Matthew is great, but Oliver is getting ticked off by his method acting and is rapidly missing Charles as the lead actor. After getting too annoyed by him, Oliver fires Matthew and hires Charles back, and they are ecstatic to be together again. Elsewhere, Mabel, Theo, and Tobert get together in her apartment to record an episode of the podcast that she is continuing, and Mabel, going over the photos, realizes a fine detail she didn't see before. Ben always set his watch 20 minutes early, so Ben didn't die at 12:06. He died at 12:26 p.m. Greg was seen leaving the building at 12:06, so he couldn't be the killer. She releases the episode the following day, and this causes Detective Biswas to reopen the Ben Glenroy homicide case. It is also revealed that Dickie was the person who bought the handkerchief from Uma because he misses his brother. Episode 8. Sitzprobe. This episode opens with a bombshell flashback that shows Dickie is actually Loretta's biological son. She was pregnant while trying to be an actor, so she decided to give him up and leave the city to pursue her dream. The couple that adopted Dickie then had a child of their own not too long after, and of course this was Ben. She had always kept tabs on Dickie, hoping he was living a good life, and when she heard about his involvement in Oliver's play, she auditioned for the role so she could be close to Dickie. At the musical Sitzprobe, she wants to tell the truth to Dickie in a letter, but then the police arrive and lock down the theater as they believe the killer is someone in the building after Greg's release. Detective Williams makes her come back to the show, and she will be leading the rest of the investigation and the interrogations of the cast. Donna seems nervous, but Oliver says they will be fine and they just want to get the culprit who did this. Mabel also shows up and she reconciles with Charles and Oliver, reuniting the three once again. While Charles and Oliver secretly record Detective Williams' interrogations of the case, Mabel helps Howard reassemble a shredded document that might be a clue. Loretta learns that the police and some of the trio believe that Dickie is the killer. She refuses to believe her son could do such a thing. Mabel also believes Dickie is innocent, but Oliver isn't so sure. With Loretta performing, Mabel and Charles go through her bag, and they find the letter she was going to give Dickie telling him she was his mother. While on stage, Loretta sees the police approaching Dickie, thinking they are going to arrest him. She confesses to being the killer to save him. She is let out in handcuffs, and Oliver suffers a heart attack and collapses. Episode 9. 30. Oliver stays in the hospital for 5 days, but eventually makes a full recovery, relieving Charles and Mabel. Loretta is still in jail, but the trio don't believe she actually did it, and this makes them want to solve the case even more to clear her name. While investigating, they are able to clear Dickie's name as he has an airtight alibi for the time of Ben's murder. They still don't tell him why Loretta took the blame for him, though, and they want her to tell him that. Using their newfound knowledge, they recreate the last 30 minutes before Ben collapsed on stage. Ben arrived late to the theater after being with a few of his seamstress friends, who actually helped him make the handkerchiefs that were given out to the cast that night. When he got to the theater, he heard Loretta telling Dickie to quit as his manager and to stop living in his brother's shadow, and this is what really caused the following fight between Ben, Loretta, and Charles. After the whole ordeal, an upset Ben fired Tobert and retreated to his dressing room to calm down. He ate a cookie on his table to ease his mind and was mad at himself for going against his diet, so he wrote, "Freaking pig," on the mirror, not Loretta as previously thought. Howard finally reassembled the document from the shredder that he believed was a clue, and it turns out to be an early negative review of Ben's performance on a recent show. The trio reaches the conclusion that the producer, Donna, was the one who poisoned Ben with the cookie to prevent the show from taking place because she didn't want her son's career to end before it even got started. Cliff's start to his career was dependent on this stage play, and when Donna knew Ben wasn't fully into it, she acted on it. The trio race to the courthouse hoping they can get Loretta to plead not guilty, and they are shocked to learn the only witness the prosecution has is Donna. Episode 10. Opening Night. Season Finale. The finale opens up with a monologue from Donna telling us how being a mother is the most important thing in her life, and she would do anything for her son and his success. Loretta is released on bail, and she received the missing handkerchief from Dickie, and the trio uses it as evidence to force a confession out of Donna on opening night of the musical. To their surprise, she readily confesses to Ben's murder and giving him the poisoned cookie to sabotage him, but she asks if she can see the play before she turns herself in, and they surprisingly agree. While the show is going on, Tobert tells Mabel he is going to move to LA, and he wants her to come with him. After the show, Loretta tells Dickie the truth about her being his biological mother, and the two embrace each other to make up for all the lost time. Mabel then has another revelation, and she doesn't think Donna was the one that pushed Ben down the elevator shaft to his death, because he is so much stronger than her. Donna might have poisoned Ben, but when that didn't kill him, someone pushed him down the elevator shaft to finish him off. Mabel goes to confront Cliff, and he confesses to doing it. We then see that night in a flashback. Ben survived the poisoning, and he confronted Donna about it. And when he says he is going to turn her in, Cliff starts fighting him, and it ends with Ben pushed down the elevator shaft on accident. Back in the present, Cliff wants to end it, but Donna begs him not to and assures him things will be okay. The two are taken into custody as the musical ends up being a success. At the after-party, Dickie, Loretta, and Tobert reveal they all have upcoming gigs in LA, but our true crime trio want to stay in New York. Says comes to celebrate, and she goes to Charles's apartment to grab a few things, but is shot through the window. Someone thought she was Charles and got her. She tries to write something down, but the camera fades to black before we see what happens. And that will be our mystery for Season 4. Hope you can check that one out too. Thanks for watching.